This is a lesson for Algebra 2, Day 20, dividing complex numbers. The objective for this lesson is students will divide complex numbers with complex numbers in the denominator. The vocabulary you should know is a complex conjugate. The conjugate of a complex number a plus bi is a minus bi. The reason for that is when we multiply a, for example, when we had a difference of squares for a plus b times a minus b, we could do this quickly. This is a difference of squares, so you could just multiply a times a, which is a squared, minus b squared, right? You just square the first term, square the last term, and put a minus sign in the middle, right? Well, conjugate, it's the same type of concept. We could have a complex number a plus bi. We could get rid of that, get rid of the imaginary number by multiplying it so that it's a difference of squares problem. And we're going to use that today. These are the steps you need to have. You should probably pause the video here and write the steps down so you know what they are. Okay, here's numbers 1 and 2. Number 1, 4 over 10i. This is like me. We want to simplify this. We want to rationalize this denominator. We do not like imaginary numbers in math in our denominator. So we multiply by its conjugate, which is going to be negative 10i. Okay, we multiply that out. Numerator 4 times negative 10i is negative 40i. Denominator, we have negative 100i squared. Simplify that. This is like saying negative 40i over negative 100 times another negative sign. Simplify that again. We get negative 40i over positive 100. We know 20 goes into negative 40 and 100, which is going to be negative 2i over 5. That's for number 1. Number 2, 8 minus 6i over 8i. You multiply by its conjugate, which is going to be times the opposite, negative 8i. You do that to the numerator also. We're multiplying here. Okay. Remember, the numerator now is a binomial, so it's like you have to multiply this negative 8i with each of these terms. You have to distribute it. So 8 times negative 8i is negative 64i. And negative 8 times negative 6 is going to be positive 48. And I times I is I squared. Denominator, we have negative 64 I squared. Now we start simplifying this out. So the negative 64i comes down. Positive 48 times the negative sign, because I squared becomes negative, over 64. It's supposed to be negative 64 times negative 64 times the negative sign. I squared is negative. Simplify again. We have negative 64i minus 48 all over positive 64. We know that 16 goes into each of these, so simplifying that, it would be negative 4i minus 3 all over 4. And of course we want to put the real number first, so it's negative 3 minus 4i all over 4. That's your final answer. That's how we do simplifying conjugates with a single monomial in the denominator. Now sometimes our conjugates will be a binomial in the denominator, like so. When that's the case, the conjugate is just, we look at the denominator, we keep the the real part the same, which is positive 1, and we multiply by the opposite, which is 1 minus 2i. And when we do that, this becomes a perfect, or a difference of squares problem. So whatever we do in the numerator, we do, or denominator, we also do in the numerator as well. So we multiply this out. Numerator, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative 2i is negative 4i. Denominator, difference of squares problem, so we got 1 squared is 1 minus 2i squared is 4i squared. Simplify that, we got 2 minus 4i over 1 minus 4 times the negative sign. Simplify that again, we got 2 minus 4i over 1 plus 4, which is going to be 5, of course, and you can see my answers right there at the bottom left. 2 minus 4I over 5. That's for number 1. Number 2, similarly, multiply by the conjugate, which is going to be 2 plus 4I in both the denominator and the numerator. So that's step 1, multiply by the conjugate. Okay, so it's 2 plus 4i. We had a negative 4i, so we're going to do a plus 4i here. And of course, these are both binomials, so now we have some, this one's going to be a little bit longer. We have some binomial multiplication to do here. So numerator first, here we go. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 4i is positive 16i. 3i times 2 is positive 6i. And 3i times 4i is positive 12i squared. Denominator, 2 times, this is difference of squares, so 2 times 2 is 4. Put a subtraction sign down. 4i times 4i is 16i squared. That's our denominator. Now we simplify the numerator. Combine like terms. 16i plus 6i is 22i, so we could bring that out 22i. Bring down the plus 8 in front of it. Bring down the positive 12i squared. Positive 12 and I squared becomes a negative, okay, over 4. This is supposed to be 16i squared. 4 minus 16 times the negative sign. Then in the next step, we have to simplify some more. So we got 8 plus 22i minus 12 over 4 plus 16. Moving this along, simplify 8 minus 12 is negative 4. Put that up here. Bring across the positive 22i. Denominator, 4 plus 16 is 20. Now we're almost done. We just need to simplify. 4, 22, and 20 have a common factor of 2, so we know that their answer is going to be negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11. 20 divided by 2 is 10. And there is your simplified answer. So in these problems, we need to make sure that you are accurate and that you are being very careful not to make any mistakes. You have a lot of accuracy. The concept is simple. It's just the multiplying across is difficult. If you want to work on more problems, we could go back one slide. The answers are down here on the bottom right, if you could see that. Also, you could take a look at, if you want to try some other ones, you could look here on the bottom right as well. If you have questions, please feel free to email me or just come to class. This concludes the lesson for day 20, which is dividing complex numbers.